Hi everyone, Jim here. Welcome to my channel. I'm a little overdue in doing some June on the Range stuff, but I am going to get to that. I think I'm going to do a book tour, give you an update on what I've been reading for June on the Range, but I do have kind of a half June on the Range book haul. I've got a bunch of books to show you, quite a few Westerns, but there's also quite a few kind of cool books that I wanted to share with you real quick, just to get the video out of the way. This is just from various places, thrift stores mostly, comic shop, and I did ordered some books online. So what I have to start with, I found a trilogy. Actually, I think there was more in this series than these three, but initially it was just a trilogy. These are a trilogy by George Pelecanos, and these are PI novels, and these feature a PI, Derek Strange, and his partner Terry Quinn. Now, I've heard a lot about the author George Pelecanos. I don't know much about these, but I found them, and I figured, okay, well, that's kind of appropriate for PI July coming up, so I'm kind of anxious to read these. I hear good things about them, and I was lucky enough to find the first three in the series. I think there was maybe a couple of more of them after these three, but yeah, that was kind of neat to find, and those are in really good condition, and I'm kind of anxious to get into them. I found this book called Losers Take All, and it's by a writer called J.J. Lamb by Carlisle Books. Now, this character, he's not really a PI or a detective. He is a detective. His name's Detective Zachariah Rolfe, but he specializes in gambling frauds. And apparently part of this takes place it features a Canadian casino. So I don't know if he's a Canadian writer or if the character, if the setting is normally in Canada, but at least with this book, part of it takes place in Canada, in a Canadian casino. So it looks a little hard-boiled, to be honest, and it's got kind of a cool cover on it with the gun and the dice, and I've never, as I said, never heard of it. Never heard of the writer, and I found it at the bookstore, and I'm kind of curious about it to see if it's any good or not. So we'll see. The next one, I got an old sci-fi book, and this was at a antique store, junk store downtown Hamilton called Marooned on Mars. This is written by Lester Del Rey. A superior adventure story. Slowly, the rodent-like creatures of the Red Planet advance toward Chuck Svensson, is the character's name. Chuck Svensson. So yeah, that looks kind of kitschy and old school. This is from 1962, and that's just a neat cover on there. So yeah, I picked that one up, and Rocket Summer is coming up, or Rocket July, so, you know, I've got one or two other sci-fi ones here that I might read over July while I'm reading PI stuff. Now, these two, I have ordered a lot of Stark House books from Stark House Press, mostly anthologies. I've got the first three reprints of Manhunt stories, the Detective Digest magazine Manhunt. So I ordered the first three collections of those, and I've got some other books that talk about the paperbacks, the vintage paperbacks and Men's Adventure and stuff like that. But Stark House Press also has another imprint called Black Gat Books, and I've been meaning to buy some of them for a long time, and I picked up these two. You'll Get Yours by William Ard, writing as Thomas Wills. And this is a Black Gat book, and it features a PI character. That's kind of why I got it, for Private Eye July. And then I got this one called Little Sister by Robert Martin, writing as Lee Roberts, with an introduction by Bill Pronzini. And again, this one features a PI in this one too. These are just beautiful little books, mass market paperback size. They're just, they fit well in the hand. I love these. They're in really good quality paper. So I might order more of these, and they're numbered. That's number 16. That's number 27. And they've got great vintage covers on them. And I really want to get into them because I love the Stark House Press books. And as I said, these are just like quality little paperbacks. So they should be a lot of fun. This next one is by Julian Simons. It's a Penguin book, and he's kind of a Sherlock Holmes scholar, Julian Simons. And this is called A Three-Pipe Problem. And look at that guy on there. Now, this isn't an actual Sherlock Holmes book. This is about a man who thinks he's Sherlock Holmes. But in the book, he has to solve a mystery. It says on the back, Julian Simons provides a stylish spin-off from the Sherlockian revival. It tells of a fading actor playing the great detective in a television series, who persuades himself that by following in the master's footsteps, he could solve a string of apparently unrelated murders, the karate killings. And I saw that, and I was so happy to find that, because, that's a bit of a rarity, I imagine. You don't see, that out there too often. But, that was a nice find. Now, this one was interesting. I got it more out of a curiosity. I might not read it. I mean, I'm a huge Edgar Rice Burroughs fan. I've read all his most of his books, and reread them. And his son wrote this book, The Treasure of the Black Falcon. This is by John Coleman Burroughs. Very neat cover. I'm not sure how good of a writer he is. And as I said, I got it more out of the curiosity value more than anything else. And it was $2 online. I got this and a bunch of others for like $2 each, and shipping was cheap, so I got like, what did I get, like 11 books for like $40. I really lucked out, and I figured I'd just throw that one in. So yeah, John Coleman Burroughs, The Treasure of the Black Falcon. I don't know, but they looked intriguing, so we'll see. I do have Westerns in this book haul, by the way. I just want to get these other ones out of the way first. Now, I have the first two anthologies in this series. This is the Black Tide Rising Zombie series. I've got the first two anthologies called Black Tide Rising and We Shall Rise, and this is United We Stand. I had to tape it up a little bit. It wasn't in the greatest condition. The stories are in there, and they're very cool stories, very enjoyable stories. It's as I said, it's like zombie stories, but it deals less with the zombies and more with the humans and how they interact with one another, and how they build society again, and how they survive. And they're actually really good stories, and with great covers. As I said, I've got the other two, and I think there's 4 anthologies altogether, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for the 4th one, but I was happy to find that one. Next, I ordered this one online, one of the Shadow books. This is Kings of Crime with that awesome Jim Steranko cover. So I'm going to be reading some of these Shadow books for an upcoming project, which I'll talk more about later on, but I just love these paperbacks. When I was younger, I had an opportunity to get some, but unfortunately it didn't work out, and I've kind of regretted it to this day that I wasn't able to grab these. So maybe slowly I'll start picking more and more of these up. These are fantastic, and of course that's by Maxwell Grant, which is a pseudonym for Walter Gibson. So what a lovely cover on that. Next, I've got Modesty Blaze story by Peter O'Donnell. This is called Sabretooth, and this is a nice pan edition. Now, there was a kind of a spine roll on this. It was bent much more drastically than that. And I found kind of a technique where I can fix that up. You get a hairdryer, you kind of loosen up the glue in the spine, you get some elastics and you put it around and you put some heavy books on it. You let the glue reset itself and, it fixes it up quite a bit. So, yeah, I was happy to get this book. That's just kind of a cool cover. And from what I hear, these are awesome stories. I have another Modesty Blaze on my shelf, which I've never actually got around to reading, so that adds to that one, and who knows, maybe we'll get around to reading them one of these days. This one here is a science fiction one called The Windhover Tapes, Flexing the Warp by Warren Norwood. And yes, you see things correctly, she's got a red dress on. I do believe that's a Bob Larkin cover. And I saw that at the store, and yeah, of course I had to pick that one up. And that's part of a series. I think there's 4 in the series, so I'm going to have to look for the other ones. But cool cover nevertheless. This one here, nice vintage paperback, The Untouchables. This is a book by Eliot Ness with Oscar Fraley, so I'm assuming it was originally written like in the 30s or the 40s. Oh, it's got Roman numerals, which I'm not great on. But yeah, neat cover. And this is the book apparently that they based the television series on back in the day with Robert Stack, I think, was Eliot Ness in the series. But cool book. I'm glad I found that one. Now we're almost to the Westerns. I found this hardcover. I've seen other booktubers talk about this one by Joe Nesbo called The Night House. And this is a horror book, obviously. And it looked intriguing. So, yeah, maybe I'll get to that one soon. And just a little while back, Jeff featured his Louis L'Amour books, and he showed some of the hardcovers he has of the collected editions. I've got 3 of them on my shelf, and I ordered another one. I needed volume 2, so this is the collected short stories of Louis L'Amour, the Frontier Stories volume 2. That gives me 4 of the collected hardcovers anyway, so I've got 3 more to get, is what I'm trying to get at. But these are great hardcovers, just full of all his short stories. I think there's like 5 Frontier, 2 Adventure, and 1 Crime collection. But they're beautiful books, and I was glad to get that. I finally said to myself, like, why am I looking for them out somewhere? Why don't I just order them? Because I need them. And there's more on that later. Now I've got some more Westerns here. I got a couple of gunsmith books. I've got these are by J.R. Roberts, who was the pen name for Robert J. Randisi. I've got number 204, Women on the Run. And I've got 266, The Red Queen. So that gives me a few gunsmith novels now. As I said, they were cheap, so I figured I'll grab a couple of gunsmith books. I found this at a thrift shop, The Oxbow Incident, which I think I read years and years ago. I think I read this in high school, if I remember correctly, but I've never actually owned it myself, so I've got a nice little paperback of it. And this is by Walter Van Tilburg Clark. Very iconic, epic story. Yeah, so I'm glad to have that. This was a neat find. This is the screenplay of the movie Doc, with Stacy Keach as Doc Holliday. And this is just, as I said, it's like the screenplay, screen treatment, I guess is what they might call it. And it's got photos throughout from the movie. So that was just kind of a neat find. You don't see that out there too often. Here is one I got at that antique store. It's a Western called Westering by Irwin R. Blacker. Now, admittedly, I did get this for the cover initially. And it's kind of like a journal, I think, of these people's trip across the frontier United States. but it just looks like an awesome paperback in really, really good shape, and it might be an interesting read. It says the exciting saga of a wagon train, the men and women, the heroes and villains who brave the wilderness for a promised land. So yeah, just a very, very cool book. Now these next 4 are some Louis L'Amour books that I needed for my collection. Now that I have these on the hardcover, I need 2 more hardcovers, and I need 4 more paperbacks, and I'm done. Yeah, but anyway, I've got Son of a Wanted Man. I had this one. For some reason, I got rid of it. I probably lent it to somebody, and I didn't have it, so I had to get this one again. Good book from what I remember. They're all good books. This one is Valley of the Sun, which is an anthology of short stories, and this cover's a little different than the normal Louis L'Amours you get, but nice paperback nevertheless. Was happy to get that. This one has eluded me for a long time. Guns of the Timberlands. Not in the greatest shape. I'll have to look for one that's in better shape, but at least I have it. And it's got these old covers that I love so much on these Louis L'Amour books. And this one, another anthology of short stories, Night Over the Solomons. Now these are his adventure stories, World War II stories. Yeah, they're freelance pilots and full-time troubleshooters for democracy. They're men like Steve Cohen, Mike Thorne, and Turk Madden, who face danger every day of their lives and fight like tigers for what they believe in. With the world on the brink of war, they're on the front lines wherever there's action. From the dangerous South Sea Islands to steaming South American jungles to the other islands of Japan, you'll find these men ready to fight the enemies of freedom in a battle to the death. So that's just a beautiful paperback copy, and yeah, I ordered this online just to have it. So as I said, I've only got a few more of them to get, and my Louis L'Amour collection's complete. Now these I just picked up recently. I got to start featuring comic books more. I think, well, the Conan comics. I just picked up the latest issue of Conan the Barbarian. This is issue number 31, which wraps up a story arc. Yeah, so I've got that, and of course, Conan, Savage Sword of Conan Reforged, where they take the old Savage Sword of Conan black and white magazine stories, they colorize them and reprint them in these magazines, and they're just lovely. And you know, I've collected comics all my life, but pretty much the only thing I really collect now is Conan. But anyway, that's my book haul. I just wanted to share that with you real quick until I get back, you know, full tilt into June on the Range stuff. So until next time, I will talk to you very soon. Everyone take care and keep reading.